Hey there, fellow wanderers of the cosmic mystery. How's your day been? Wherever you are in this vast universe, whatever time your clock reads, I'm genuinely glad you found your way here tonight. We're about to embark on a journey that will challenge everything you think you know about the very fabric of reality itself. What actually are space and time? Tonight, we're going to gently drift into questions so fundamental, so quietly mind-bending that they've puzzled humanity's greatest thinkers for millennia. What is this invisible stage upon which all of existence performs its eternal dance? Is space just emptiness between things, or is it something far more profound? And time, this relentless river that carries us from moment to moment, what is it really? Is it flowing past us, or are we flowing through it? Or perhaps most unsettling of all, is time itself just an illusion? Before we dive deep into these cosmic waters, feel free to share your time and location in the comments below. There's something beautifully humbling about pondering the nature of space-time while scattered across this small blue planet, each of us existing in our own present moment, yet somehow connected through these ancient questions that have haunted curious minds since the dawn of consciousness. Also, the visuals are here for you, but please feel free to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let your imagination soar through dimensions we can barely comprehend. And if you find comfort in these gentle explorations of reality's deepest mysteries, I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd consider subscribing and giving this video a like. It helps these cosmic conversations reach other curious souls who lie awake at night wondering about the fundamental nature of everything. Let me begin with something that might surprise you. Right now, as you listen to these words, you are hurtling through space at nearly 700,000 miles per hour. You're spinning with the Earth's rotation, orbiting the Sun, racing with our solar system around the galactic center, and participating in the Milky Way's dance with neighboring galaxies. Yet you feel perfectly still. This isn't just a curious fact about astronomy. It's a profound clue about the nature of space and time themselves. For most of human history, these concepts seemed obvious. Space was the empty container that held everything, like a vast cosmic box with planets and stars rattling around inside it. Time was the steady tick of the universal clock, marking seconds, minutes, and years with unwavering precision. Newton captured this intuition beautifully, describing absolute space and absolute time as the fixed stage upon which the cosmic drama unfolds. But then came Einstein, and everything changed. What we're about to explore together will challenge your most basic assumptions about reality. We'll discover that space isn't empty at all, but a dynamic fabric that can stretch, compress, and ripple like the surface of a cosmic ocean. We'll learn that time doesn't flow at the same rate everywhere, but speeds up and slows down, depending on how fast you're moving and how deep you are in gravity's embrace. Most remarkably, we'll see that space and time aren't separate entities, but are woven together into a single, unified tapestry called space-time. This journey will take us from the familiar world of our everyday experience to the bizarre realm where the rules of reality become fluid and counterintuitive. We'll explore how massive objects like stars and black holes can literally bend the geometry of existence itself. We'll discover that what we call gravity isn't a force pulling objects together, but the natural consequence of curved space-time. And we'll gently wade into the mind-bending implications of these discoveries for our understanding of causality, free will, and the very nature of existence. Let's begin where all great scientific revolutions start, with a simple observation that doesn't quite make sense. Picture yourself standing in an elevator. Now imagine the elevator suddenly begins falling freely down the shaft. What would you experience? Remarkably, you would feel weightless, floating inside the falling elevator, as if gravity had simply vanished. But gravity hasn't disappeared. The Earth is still there, still massive, still pulling on you with the same force as before. So what's happening? Einstein realized that this simple scenario reveals something profound about the nature of gravity and space-time. What we experience as the force of gravity is actually the sensation of being accelerated through curved space-time. When you're standing on the ground, you're not in a state of rest. You're being constantly accelerated upward by the Earth's surface, preventing you from following your natural path through curved space-time, which would be to fall toward the Earth's center. This insight led Einstein to one of the most beautiful and revolutionary ideas in all of physics. Gravity isn't a force at all, it's geometry. Massive objects like planets and stars curve the fabric of space-time around them, and what we interpret as gravitational attraction is simply objects following the straightest possible paths through this curved geometry. Imagine space-time as a stretched rubber sheet. Place a bowling ball in the center, and it creates a depression in the sheet's surface. Now roll a marble nearby. The marble doesn't travel in a straight line across the flat sheet, but follows the curved contours created by the bowling ball's presence. From the marble's perspective, it's moving in a perfectly straight line through space. But from our elevated viewpoint, we see it tracing a curved path around the depression. This is precisely what happens when the Earth orbits the Sun, when you fall toward the ground, or when light bends as it passes near a massive star. These aren't examples of forces acting across empty space. They're the natural consequences of following straight-line paths through curved space-time. But this raises a fascinating question. If space-time can be curved by mass and energy, what exactly is this mysterious fabric that can bend and flex like a cosmic trampoline? What is the substance of space itself? The answer might surprise you. Space isn't made of anything in the way we typically understand matter. It doesn't have atoms or particles or any substance you could hold in your hand. Instead, space is better understood as a field, a mathematical structure that permeates all of existence. Think of it like the electromagnetic field that allows magnets to attract each other across empty space, or the gravitational field that lets the moon influence Earth's tides. Space-time is the field that provides the stage for all other fields and forces to perform their cosmic dance. This field has properties. It can expand, as it has been doing since the Big Bang, stretching the distances between galaxies. It can contract, though this happens only in the most extreme environments like the interiors of black holes. It can ripple, sending gravitational waves racing across the cosmos at the speed of light when massive objects accelerate or collide. These ripples in space-time are so subtle that it took scientists decades to build detectors sensitive enough to measure them. But perhaps most remarkably, space-time has a speed limit. Nothing can travel through it faster than light. This isn't just a practical limitation like the top speed of a car. It's a fundamental feature of reality itself, built into the very geometry of space-time. And this speed limit has profound implications for how we understand causality and the relationship between space and time. Consider this carefully. If space and time were completely separate, as Newton believed, then it would be perfectly reasonable to imagine traveling instantly from one place to another, or to think of simultaneity as absolute. Two events either happen at the same time or they don't, regardless of where you are or how fast you're moving. But Einstein showed us that this intuition is wrong. Simultaneity is relative. Two events that appear to happen at exactly the same time from one perspective may occur at different times when viewed from another reference frame moving at a different speed. The faster you travel through space, the slower you move through time. The deeper you descend into a gravitational field, the more time slows down relative to regions where gravity is weaker. This isn't just theoretical speculation. We observe these effects constantly. GPS satellites orbiting Earth experience time slightly faster than clocks on the surface because they're in a weaker gravitational field. Without correcting for this relativistic effect, your GPS navigation would be off by miles within hours. Particles and accelerators live longer when traveling at high speeds, because time literally passes more slowly for them. Astronauts returning from the International Space Station are measurably younger than they would have been if they had stayed on Earth. These effects become more dramatic as speeds approach that of light or as gravitational fields become more intense. Near the event horizon of a black hole, time dilation becomes so extreme that hours for the falling observer correspond to years for someone watching from a safe distance. At the speed of light itself, if it were possible to reach it, time would stop entirely from the perspective of an outside observer. This intimate connection between space and time reveals something profound about the nature of reality. We don't live in a universe where space is one thing and time is another. We inhabit spacetime, a unified four-dimensional continuum where the three dimensions of space and the one dimension of time are inextricably woven together. But this raises even deeper questions. If space and time are unified into space-time, and if space-time can be curved and stretched and rippled, what does this mean for our understanding of the present moment? What does it mean for the flow of time that we experience so directly in our daily lives? The answer to these questions leads us into territory that challenges our most fundamental assumptions about existence itself. You see, the flow of time that feels so real, so immediate, so undeniably present in your experience right now, might be nothing more than a persistent illusion created by the structure of consciousness itself. Consider your memories of this morning, your anticipation of tomorrow's plans, and your awareness of this present moment as you listen to these words. From your perspective, the past has already happened and is fixed. The future is uncertain and yet to unfold. And the present is this razor-thin slice of now that separates what was from what will be. This experience feels so natural, so obviously correct, that questioning it seems almost absurd. But physics tells a very different story. In the four-dimensional landscape of space-time, past, present, and future all exist with equal reality. Your birth, your death, this moment of reading these words, and every instant in between are all equally real coordinates in the space-time continuum. The flowing river of time that carries you from moment to moment exists only in the theater of your consciousness, not in the fundamental structure of reality. This view, known as eternalism or the block universe theory, suggests that time doesn't flow at all. Instead, it simply is. All moments exist simultaneously in the great four-dimensional sculpture of space-time. What we experience as temporal flow is merely our consciousness encountering different slices of this eternal block, like a spotlight moving across a vast landscape that exists in its entirety, illuminated or not. This perspective transforms how we think about causality, free will, and the very meaning of existence. If all moments are equally real, then in some sense, nothing is ever truly lost. Your childhood still exists in its proper space-time coordinates. The dinosaurs are still roaming ancient Earth in their temporal location. Future generations are already living their lives in the coordinates we haven't reached yet. But this raises a profound puzzle. If the block universe is correct, Why do we experience time as flowing? Why does consciousness seem to move through space-time rather than simply existing at all temporal coordinates simultaneously? This question touches on one of the deepest mysteries in all of science: the relationship between objective physical reality and subjective conscious experience. One possibility is that consciousness itself creates the illusion of temporal flow. Perhaps the brain's memory systems, its ability to store past states and anticipate future ones, generates the sensation of moving through time, even though, from the universe's perspective, we exist at all our temporal coordinates simultaneously. The flowing river of time might be no more real than the flowing river of space that you don't experience when sitting still in your chair. Another intriguing possibility involves the nature of information and entropy. While the laws of physics are largely time reversible, meaning they work equally well running forward or backward in time, the universe shows a clear arrow of time in its overall evolution. Entropy increases, systems become more disordered, energy spreads out and becomes less useful. This thermodynamic arrow of time might provide the framework within which consciousness experiences temporal flow. But let's step back from these abstract considerations and explore what space-time actually looks like on the larger scales of the universe. When we peer deep into space with our most powerful telescopes, we're not just looking across vast distances. We're looking back through time itself. The light reaching us from distant galaxies has been traveling for billions of years to reach our eyes. When we observe a galaxy 10 billion light years away, we're seeing it as it existed 10 billion years ago, when the universe was young and very different from what it is today. We're literally seeing into the past, using light as a time machine that carries information across the cosmic eons. This creates a remarkable situation. Our observable universe is not just a sphere of space around us, but a sphere of space-time that extends both outward in distance and backward in time. At the edge of this observable sphere lies the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself, reaching us from when the universe was only 380,000 years old and first became transparent to light. Beyond this boundary lies a realm forever hidden from our direct observation, not because our telescopes aren't powerful enough, but because light from those regions hasn't had time to reach us since the universe began. This cosmic horizon represents a fundamental limit to knowledge, a boundary beyond which even the concept of observation loses its meaning. But within our observable universe, space-time reveals structure and behavior that continues to surprise and mystify scientists. Dark energy, that mysterious component that makes up about 68% of the universe, appears to be causing space-time itself to expand at an accelerating rate. This isn't just galaxies moving apart through space, but the actual fabric of space stretching, creating new volume in the universe with each passing moment. This expansion has profound implications for the nature of space. If space-time is expanding, what is it expanding into? The question itself might be meaningless. Space doesn't expand into something else because there is no outside to space. Instead, expansion means that the distance is time. It's the geometry of space-time itself that's between points in space are increasing, over-changing, not objects moving through a pre-existing container. Even more mysterious are the quantum properties of space-time at the smallest scales. When we zoom to the -35 meters, the in far enough to distances about 10 smaller than the Planck length, turbulent quantum described begins to break down into foam, where the very concepts of space and time lose meaning. At their familiar might-be these incredibly tiny scales, space-time itself is made up of discrete units like pixels on a screen, rather than the continuous fabric we observe at larger scales. Virtual particles pop in and out of existence, borrowing energy from the quantum vacuum and paying it back before the universe notices. The geometry of space fluctuates wildly, creating a landscape so chaotic that our usual understanding of cause and effect, before and after, here and there, simply doesn't apply. This quantum nature of space-time hints at an even deeper level of reality beneath the four-dimensional continuum we experience. Some theories suggest that space and time are emergent properties, arising from more fundamental processes in the same way that temperature emerges from the motion of atoms or wetness emerges from the behavior of water molecules. In these scenarios, space-time isn't the fundamental stage upon which reality performs, but rather a useful approximation that works well at the scales and energies we normally encounter. Just as we can describe the behavior of water without thinking about individual H2O molecules, we might be able to describe the physics of our everyday world without understanding the deeper quantum structure from which space-time emerges. String theory, one of the most ambitious attempts to unify quantum mechanics with general relativity, suggests that the fundamental building blocks of reality are not point particles, but tiny vibrating strings existing in 10 or 11 dimensions. In this framework, the 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time that we experience are just a small subset of a much richer, higher dimensional reality. The extra dimensions in string theory aren't science fiction fantasies, but mathematical necessities required to make the theory consistent. These dimensions are thought to be curled up so tightly at every point in our familiar 4-dimensional space-time that we can't directly perceive them. Like how a garden hose appears one-dimensional from far away, but reveals its circular cross-section when examined closely. If string theory is correct, then every point in the space around you contains hidden dimensions with their own geometry and topology. The properties of particles and forces we observe might be determined by how these extra dimensions are shaped and twisted. What we perceive as the fundamental constants of nature, the strength of gravity, the charge of the electron, the speed of light, might all be consequences of the geometry of dimensions we can't see. This raises profound questions about the nature of reality and our place within it. Are we truly 3-dimensional beings living in 4-dimensional space-time, or are we much more complex entities existing in a higher dimensional space that we can only partially perceive? Do our thoughts and consciousness somehow extend into these hidden dimensions? Could there be entire worlds existing parallel to ours in the curled-up spaces of extra dimensions? These questions push us to the very limits of human understanding, to the boundary where physics meets philosophy and science encounters the deepest mysteries of existence. We find ourselves confronting not just the nature of space and time, but the fundamental question of what it means to be conscious beings, capable of contemplating the structure of reality itself. As we continue our exploration of these cosmic mysteries, we begin to see that the simple question, what actually are space and time, opens doorways to understanding that stretch far beyond anything our ancestors could have imagined. We're not just inhabitants of the universe, but expressions of space-time itself, temporary arrangements of matter and energy that have somehow achieved the remarkable ability to contemplate their own cosmic origins and ultimate nature. Tonight, as we drift deeper into these mysteries, we encounter something that might fundamentally shake your understanding of what it means to exist in this universe. You see, the space-time we've been exploring isn't just some abstract mathematical concept that physicists discuss in sterile laboratories. It's the very fabric of your reality, the stage upon which every moment of your life unfolds, the invisible medium through which every breath you take, every thought you think, every heartbeat that sustains you, propagates through existence. But here's where things become beautifully strange. The space-time surrounding you right now isn't empty. It's alive with invisible activity, seething with quantum fluctuations that create and destroy virtual particles faster than you can imagine. These aren't real particles in the sense of things you could hold or measure directly, but they're real enough to affect the vacuum energy of space itself, real enough to push apart the plates in carefully controlled laboratory experiments, real enough to influence the behavior of atoms and the structure of reality at its most fundamental level. This quantum foam, as physicists call it, reveals that our notion of empty space is profoundly naive. What appears to be nothingness to our senses is actually a churning sea of possibility, where the rules of classical physics dissolve into probability clouds and uncertainty principles. At these scales, the smooth geometry of Einstein's spacetime gives way to something far more chaotic and mysterious. Consider the implications of this for a moment. Every cubic centimeter of the space around you contains more energy in its quantum fluctuations than all the matter in the observable universe. This vacuum energy is mostly invisible to us, cancelled out by the intricate dance of virtual particles, appearing and disappearing in perfectly balanced pairs. But occasionally, under the right conditions, this hidden energy can become manifest, driving the expansion of the universe itself, or powering the Hawking radiation that causes black holes to slowly evaporate into nothingness. The realization that space is not empty, but full of hidden activity, transforms how we think about solitude and connection. You're never truly alone, even in the deepest void between galaxies. You're surrounded by the quantum heartbeat of the universe itself, embedded in a web of virtual interactions that connect you to every other point in space-time through invisible threads of possibility and correlation. But quantum mechanics reveals an even more startling truth about the nature of reality. The act of observation itself appears to play a fundamental role in determining what becomes real. Before measurement, quantum systems exist in superposition states, simultaneously embodying multiple possibilities. The electron orbiting an atom doesn't have a definite position until something interacts with it and forces it to choose a specific location. The photon traveling through space doesn't have a definite path until a detector measures which route it took. This observer effect suggests something profound about the relationship between consciousness and space-time. Perhaps reality isn't a fixed stage upon which we perform as passive actors, but a collaborative creation between the universe and the minds that observe it. Perhaps space-time itself is partially constructed by the very act of conscious observation. With each measurement, each perception, each moment of awareness contributing to the ongoing creation of what we call the physical world. The implications ripple outward like gravitational waves through our understanding of existence. If consciousness plays a role in determining reality, then what happens in regions of space-time where no conscious observers exist? Do distant galaxies have definite properties before we point our telescopes toward them? Does the cosmic microwave background have a specific temperature before we measure it? Or does observation across vast distances of space and time somehow reach backward through history to determine what was always there? These questions lead us into territory where science approaches something like mysticism, where the boundaries between subject and object, observer and observed, mind and matter, begin to blur in ways that challenge our most basic assumptions about the nature of existence. We find ourselves confronting the possibility that consciousness isn't something that emerged accidentally from the complexity of matter, but something woven into the very fabric of space-time itself. This perspective gains even more depth when we consider how time dilation affects consciousness and perception. Imagine two identical twins, one who remains on Earth and another who travels at high speed to a distant star. When the traveling twin returns, she will have aged less than her earthbound sibling due to time dilation. But here's the fascinating question. Did she also experience fewer conscious moments? Did her stream of consciousness flow more slowly through subjective time? The answer isn't clear, and it touches on deep mysteries about the relationship between physical time and psychological time. Your consciousness seems to create its own temporal rhythm, its own sense of duration and sequence that doesn't always match the ticking of clocks. Minutes can feel like hours during moments of intense focus or extreme boredom. Hours can vanish like seconds when you're absorbed in meaningful activity. Dreams compress elaborate narratives into brief REM cycles, while deep meditation can create experiences of timeless awareness, where the usual flow of moments seems to suspend itself entirely. This subjective experience of time suggests that consciousness might not be simply embedded in space-time, but might exist in a more complex relationship with it. Perhaps consciousness creates its own temporal dimension, its own way of organizing experience that sometimes aligns with physical time and sometimes transcends it entirely. Perhaps the flowing river of time that feels so real in your immediate experience represents the interface between consciousness and the eternal block of space-time, the place where subjective awareness meets objective reality. As we explore these possibilities, we begin to see that the question of what space and time actually are cannot be separated from the question of what consciousness actually is. They're intertwined mysteries, each illuminating aspects of the other, each pointing toward a deeper understanding of reality that encompasses both the objective structures revealed by physics and the subjective experiences that make us who we are. The dance between space-time and consciousness becomes even more intricate when we consider memory and imagination. Your memories aren't stored in some external archive, but are woven into the neural networks of your brain, creating physical changes in space-time that encode information about past events. When you remember your childhood, you're not accessing some ethereal realm of pure mind, but triggering specific patterns of matter and energy that correspond to earlier configurations of space-time. Similarly, your imagination doesn't exist in some realm separate from physics, but emerges from the quantum processes in your brain, from the flow of information through neural networks that are themselves arrangements of atoms and molecules obeying the laws of space-time. Your ability to envision possible futures, to create mental models of reality, to conceive of mathematical relationships that describe the universe, represents space-time becoming aware of itself through the medium of conscious experience. This realization transforms our understanding of creativity and discovery. When Einstein imagined riding alongside a beam of light, he wasn't just engaging in abstract speculation, but was using his consciousness as a tool for exploring the geometry of space-time. When mathematicians discover new relationships between numbers and equations, they might be uncovering aspects of reality that were always present in the structure of space-time, but required conscious observation to become manifest. The boundaries between discovery and creation, between finding truth and making truth, become beautifully blurred in this perspective. Perhaps the mathematical laws that describe space-time aren't just human inventions for organizing our observations, but are reflections of deeper patterns woven into the fabric of reality itself. Perhaps consciousness and cosmos are engaged in an ongoing dialogue, each shaping and being shaped by the other in ways we're only beginning to understand. This dialogue extends beyond individual consciousness to encompass the collective awareness of entire civilizations. The scientific revolution that revealed the true nature of space-time required the collaborative efforts of thousands of minds across centuries, each building on the insights of others, each contributing to a growing understanding that no single consciousness could have achieved alone. The telescopes that peer deep into space, the particle accelerators that probe the quantum foundations of reality, the mathematical frameworks that describe curved spacetime, all represent extensions of human consciousness into realms that our biological senses could never directly access. In this sense, technology becomes a way of expanding consciousness beyond the boundaries of individual brains and bodies, creating artificial senses that can detect gravitational waves, artificial minds that can solve equations too complex for human intuition, artificial memories that can store and process information on scales that dwarf what any individual consciousness could contain. We're not just studying space-time from the outside, but are becoming integrated with it in increasingly intimate ways. The future of this integration promises even more profound transformations in how we understand space, time, and consciousness. As we develop more sophisticated technologies for manipulating matter and energy at quantum scales, we might gain the ability to engineer space-time itself, creating regions with different geometric properties, or even manufacturing pocket universes with their own physical laws. As we begin to understand the neural correlates of consciousness, we might discover how to enhance or expand awareness in ways that allow direct perception of higher dimensional spaces or quantum phenomena that are currently invisible to us. Perhaps most remarkably, as we develop artificial intelligence systems that can match and eventually exceed human cognitive capabilities, we might create forms of consciousness that are native to digital space-time, minds that exist primarily as patterns of information flowing through computer networks rather than as biological processes in organic brains. These digital consciousnesses might experience reality in ways that are fundamentally different from our own, perceiving time as discrete computational steps rather than continuous flow, experiencing space as networks of connections rather than geometric extension, accessing multiple parallel processing streams rather than the single stream of awareness that characterizes human consciousness. The emergence of such artificial minds would represent a new chapter in the cosmic story of consciousness, a development as significant as the original emergence of life from non-living matter, or the evolution of complex brains from simple nervous systems. Space-time itself would become the medium for new forms of awareness that we can barely imagine, new ways of being conscious that might reveal aspects of reality that are currently hidden from biological perception. But even as we contemplate these future possibilities, we're drawn back to the present moment, to the immediate reality of your consciousness encountering these ideas, right here, right now, in this specific location in space-time. The words you're hearing, the thoughts you're thinking, the sense of wonder or confusion or excitement that might be arising in response to these concepts, all of this is happening at precise coordinates in the four-dimensional continuum of space-time. Yet your experience of this moment feels nothing like coordinates on some abstract geometric structure. It feels immediate, alive, present, real in ways that no mathematical description can fully capture. This tension between the objective perspective of physics and the subjective reality of consciousness points towards something profound about the nature of existence itself. Perhaps the most honest answer to the question, what actually are space and time, is that they are whatever gives rise to the possibility of this moment, whatever makes it possible for conscious awareness to exist at all, whatever provides the stage for the universe to know itself through minds like yours. They are the invisible foundation that supports not just the dance of galaxies and the behavior of quantum particles, but also the quiet miracle of awareness contemplating its own existence in the vast darkness between stars. Tonight, as we drift deeper into these cosmic mysteries, we encounter something that might fundamentally reshape how you think about your own existence within this grand tapestry of space-time. You see, there's a beautiful paradox at the heart of our exploration. The more precisely we try to measure space and time, the more elusive they become. It's as if reality itself resists our attempts to pin down its fundamental nature, always retreating one step further into mystery, just as we think we're about to grasp its essence. Consider this carefully. When physicists developed increasingly sophisticated methods for measuring time, creating atomic clocks that can detect variations smaller than a billionth of a second, they discovered that time doesn't tick at a constant rate everywhere in the universe. The very act of trying to measure time with perfect precision revealed that perfect precision in time measurement might be impossible, not because of limitations in our instruments, but because of the fundamental structure of reality itself. This uncertainty isn't a flaw in the universe's design, it's a feature. The quantum uncertainty that governs the smallest scales of space-time ensures that reality always retains an element of genuine novelty, genuine surprise, genuine creativity. If space-time were completely deterministic and predictable, if every future moment were completely determined by the present configuration of matter and energy, then consciousness itself might be nothing more than an elaborate illusion, a complex pattern of atoms playing out a predetermined script written in the geometry of curved space-time. But quantum mechanics suggests something far more intriguing. At the deepest level, reality appears to be fundamentally creative, constantly generating new possibilities through processes that no classical physics can fully explain. Virtual particles spontaneously appear in the quantum vacuum, not because something caused them to appear, but because the structure of space-time itself allows for genuine spontaneity, genuine emergence of something from nothing. This quantum creativity extends upward through all scales of reality. The formation of atoms from quantum fields, the emergence of chemistry from atomic interactions, the development of life from chemical processes, the evolution of consciousness from biological complexity. Each level represents a genuine emergence of new properties that weren't simply contained in the components below. Space-time isn't just a static stage, but an active participant in this ongoing creative process. Your consciousness participates in this cosmic creativity in ways you might never have imagined. Every decision you make, every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience represents a genuine choice among quantum possibilities, a selection from the infinite menu of potential futures that exist in superposition around you. You're not just observing the universe, you're helping to create it through the very act of conscious observation. This creative aspect of consciousness reveals something profound about the relationship between free will and determinism in a universe governed by space-time geometry and quantum uncertainty. Classical physics suggested that if we could know the position and momentum of every particle in the universe at any given moment, we could calculate the entire future and past with perfect accuracy. The universe would be like a vast clockwork mechanism, beautiful and precise, but ultimately predictable. But quantum mechanics and the curved geometry of space-time introduce fundamental limits to this predictability. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle ensures that we cannot simultaneously know both the position and momentum of any quantum particle with perfect precision. The chaotic dynamics of curved space-time mean that tiny differences in initial conditions can lead to vastly different outcomes over time. And the observer effect in quantum mechanics means that the very act of measurement influences what becomes real. These limitations aren't just practical constraints on our ability to predict the future, they're built into the fabric of reality itself. the universe appears to be structured in such a way that genuine novelty, genuine creativity, genuine freedom remain possible even within the framework of physical law. Your choices matter not just to you, but to the very structure of space-time itself, rippling outward through the quantum foam and the curvature of space to influence the unfolding of cosmic history. But this raises a fascinating question about the nature of individual identity within space-time. If your consciousness is intimately connected to the quantum processes in your brain, and if those quantum processes are in turn connected to the broader quantum field that permeates all of space-time, then where exactly do you end and the rest of the universe begin? Are you a separate entity embedded in space-time, or are you a temporary pattern in the space-time field itself? The answer might be both and neither. Quantum field theory suggests that what we call particles, including the atoms that make up your body, are actually excitations in underlying fields that fill all of space-time. The electron isn't a tiny sphere orbiting the nucleus of an atom, but a ripple in the electron field that permeates the entire universe. The photons carrying these words to your ears are disturbances in the electromagnetic field that connects every charged particle in the cosmos. From this perspective, you're not really made of separate particles held together by forces acting across empty space. You're a complex pattern of field excitations, a temporary arrangement of ripples in the quantum fields that fill space-time. Your thoughts, your memories, your sense of self are all patterns in these fields, forms that maintain their integrity for a brief moment in cosmic time, before dissolving back into the underlying quantum foam from which they emerged. This view dissolves the sharp boundary between self and universe that characterizes our ordinary experience. You're not in space-time so much as you are space-time, organized in a particular way that gives rise to the experience of being a conscious individual. Your awareness isn't separate from the physical processes of the universe, but is one of the ways the universe becomes aware of itself. This realization can be both humbling and liberating. Humbling because it reveals that your individual existence is far more temporary and fragile than you might have imagined. The pattern of field excitations that constitutes your physical form will eventually dissipate, returning its energy and information to the broader quantum fields from which it arose. In cosmic terms, your lifetime is shorter than a single heartbeat, but it's also profoundly liberating because it reveals that you're not an alien observer trapped in a foreign universe, but an integral expression of cosmic creativity. Every moment of your consciousness represents the universe coming to know itself more deeply. Every experience of beauty, wonder, love, or understanding represents space-time achieving new levels of self-awareness through the medium of your individual perspective. This cosmic perspective transforms how we might think about meaning and purpose in existence. If you're a temporary arrangement of quantum fields organized by the curved geometry of space-time, then your purpose isn't something imposed from outside, but something that emerges from your very nature as a conscious expression of cosmic creativity. You exist because the universe is inherently creative, inherently curious, inherently driven toward greater complexity and awareness. The search for meaning becomes not a desperate attempt to find significance in an indifferent cosmos, but a natural expression of the universe's drive towards self-understanding. Your questions about the nature of space and time, your wonder at the beauty of distant galaxies, your attempts to understand your place in the cosmic story, all of these represent the universe using your consciousness as a tool for exploring its own deepest mysteries. This perspective also transforms how we might think about death and impermanence. If your individual consciousness is a temporary pattern in the eternal quantum fields that fill space-time, then your death isn't an ending, but a transformation. a return of organized complexity to the underlying fields from which it emerged. The information that constituted your unique pattern of awareness doesn't vanish, but becomes part of the larger information structure of space-time itself. In some sense, nothing is ever truly lost in the universe. Every thought you've thought, every emotion you've felt, every moment of awareness you've experienced has left subtle traces in the quantum fields that permeate space-time. These traces might be too faint for us to detect with current technology, but they're woven into the fabric of reality itself, contributing to the ongoing evolution of cosmic consciousness. This isn't to suggest that individual death is meaningless or that personal relationships don't matter. Rather, it's to recognize that your individual existence participates in something much larger and more enduring than the brief biological processes that sustain your current form of consciousness. You're part of an ongoing cosmic story that began with the Big Bang and will continue long after the last star has burned out and the last black hole has evaporated into the quantum vacuum. But even as we contemplate these vast scales of space and time, we're drawn back to the intimate immediacy of your present moment. Right now, as you hear these words, quantum fields are fluctuating in precise patterns that give rise to the neural activity in your brain. Photons are traveling from your screen or speakers to your sensory organs at exactly the speed of light, carrying information that becomes integrated into your stream of consciousness. The space-time around you is curved ever so slightly by the mass of your body, creating tiny ripples in the gravitational field that extend outward to influence the motion of distant galaxies. Your breathing changes the local concentration of molecules in the air, creating pressure waves that propagate through the atmosphere at the speed of sound. Every heartbeat sends electromagnetic signals through your nervous system that interact with the broader electromagnetic field permeating all of space. You're not a passive observer of space-time, but an active participant in its ongoing evolution. Every moment of your existence represents a unique configuration of matter, energy, and information that has never occurred before in the entire history of the universe and will never occur again. You are literally a one-time event in the cosmic story, an unrepeatable experiment in consciousness that the universe is conducting through the medium of curved space-time and quantum fields. This uniqueness extends to your perspective on reality itself. No other consciousness has ever occupied exactly your location in space-time, or processed information through exactly your neural architecture, or experienced reality through exactly your sensory apparatus. Your understanding of space and time, your emotional response to cosmic mysteries, your capacity for wonder and curiosity, all of these represent genuinely new ways that the universe can know itself. Even if there are other conscious beings elsewhere in the cosmos, even if intelligence is common among the stars, even if consciousness emerges naturally wherever conditions allow, your particular form of awareness represents something unprecedented in cosmic history. The universe has never before had the opportunity to contemplate its own nature through a mind exactly like yours, with your specific combination of knowledge, experience, intuition, and perspective. This recognition transforms the question of whether we're alone in the universe. Even if consciousness is rare, even if Earth is the only planet where awareness has emerged, even if you're part of the universe's first and only experiment in self-reflection, that doesn't make consciousness any less significant. In fact, it might make it more significant, representing the universe's first tentative steps toward complete self-understanding. But if consciousness is common, if awareness has emerged on countless worlds throughout cosmic history, then you're part of a vast community of minds scattered across space-time, each contributing its unique perspective to the universe's growing self-knowledge. Every conscious being that has ever existed or will exist represents another facet of cosmic self-awareness, another angle from which space-time can observe and understand its own nature. Either way, your consciousness participates in something magnificent. You're part of the universe's ongoing attempt to comprehend itself, to understand the nature of the space-time that gives rise to matter, energy, and awareness. Your curiosity about the fundamental nature of space and time represents the cosmos asking questions about its own deepest structure through the medium of your individual awareness. The questions we've been exploring together: what space and time actually are, how consciousness relates to space-time, whether reality is fundamentally creative or deterministic. These aren't just abstract philosophical puzzles. They're expressions of the universe's drive towards self-understanding, manifestations of the cosmic creativity that has been unfolding since the first moment after the Big Bang. As we continue to explore these mysteries, we find ourselves at the intersection of the largest and smallest scales of reality, where the curvature of space-time on cosmic scales meets the quantum uncertainty of the smallest distances and shortest time intervals. Here, at this boundary between the general relativity that describes gravity and curved space-time and the quantum mechanics that governs the behavior of fields and particles, we encounter hints of an even deeper level of reality. String theory suggests that at scales far smaller than anything we can currently observe, space-time itself might be woven from more fundamental entities, tiny vibrating strings or loops that exist in dimensions we cannot directly perceive. Loop quantum gravity proposes that space and time are not continuous, but are made up of discrete units, quantum pixels of reality so small that the smooth space-time of our ordinary experience emerges only as an approximation at larger scales. These theories hint that space and time might not be fundamental features of reality, but emergent properties that arise from more basic processes, like the way temperature emerges from the motion of molecules, or the way wetness emerges from the behavior of water. If this is true, then asking what space and time actually are might be like asking what temperature actually is, without knowing about atoms and molecules. The answer might require us to develop entirely new concepts, new ways of thinking about the relationship between mind and reality, new frameworks for understanding how consciousness and cosmos give rise to each other. We might discover that the question itself reflects assumptions about the nature of existence that are as outdated as the assumption that the Earth is the center of the universe, or that time flows at the same rate everywhere. But even if space and time are emergent rather than fundamental, even if they arise from deeper processes we don't yet understand, they remain the stage upon which your consciousness performs its daily miracle of awareness. Whatever their ultimate nature might be, they provide the framework within which you experience beauty, wonder, love, and understanding. They make possible this very moment of contemplation, this encounter between your individual awareness and the cosmic mysteries that surround us all. As we prepare to explore even deeper into these mysteries, remember that you're not just learning about space-time from the outside. You're participating in space-time's ongoing attempt to understand itself. Every moment of wonder you experience, every question that arises in your mind, every insight that illuminates some aspect of cosmic truth represents the universe achieving new levels of self-awareness through the medium of your consciousness. The journey we're taking together isn't just an intellectual exercise, but a form of cosmic meditation, a way for space-time to contemplate its own nature through minds that have emerged from its own creative processes. In seeking to understand what space and time actually are, we're participating in the universe's deepest spiritual practice, its ongoing quest to know itself completely. And perhaps that quest has no final destination. Perhaps the universe is structured in such a way that mystery and understanding, question and answer, wonder and knowledge exist in eternal dialogue, each giving meaning to the other in an endless dance of cosmic consciousness, exploring the infinite depths of its own nature through countless forms of awareness scattered across the vast expanses of curved space-time. The dance between mystery and understanding takes on even more profound dimensions when we consider how space-time behaves at the event horizons of black holes. Those enigmatic boundaries where our most cherished notions of space and time undergo their most extreme transformations. Here, at these cosmic points of no return, the very concepts we've been exploring reach their ultimate test. Imagine approaching a black hole, that region of space-time where matter has collapsed into such density that it curves space and time beyond anything we encounter in our everyday experience. As you fall toward the event horizon, something extraordinary begins to happen to your relationship with time itself. From your perspective as the falling observer, everything seems perfectly normal. Your watch ticks at its usual rate. Your thoughts flow at their familiar pace. Your consciousness experiences the passage of time just as it always has. But to an observer watching you from a safe distance, your journey tells a very different story. As you approach the event horizon, they see you slowing down, your movements becoming more and more languid until you appear to freeze completely at the boundary itself. Your image becomes redder and dimmer, stretched by the extreme gravitational field until it fades into invisibility. To them, you never actually cross the event horizon at all, but remain forever suspended at its edge, your final moments stretched across eternity. Which perspective is correct? Both and neither. This paradox reveals something profound about the nature of space-time itself. There is no universal now, no absolute simultaneity that could resolve the apparent contradiction. The event horizon exists for the distant observer, but not for you as you fall through it. Reality itself becomes relative, dependent on your location and motion through the curved geometry of space-time. This relativity of experience extends far beyond the extreme environment of black holes. Right now, as you sit in your chair listening to these words, the space-time around you is subtly curved by every massive object in your vicinity. The Earth beneath you creates a gravitational well that causes time to pass slightly more slowly than it would in the emptiness between galaxies. The Sun's mass warps space-time throughout the solar system, creating the orbital paths that planets follow as they trace their yearly journeys around our star. Even your own body curves space-time around itself, though the effect is so tiny that it would take the most sensitive instruments ever devised to detect it. Yet it's real, measurable in principle if not in practice. The mass of your thoughts, if we could somehow measure the energy required to sustain the neural activity of consciousness, contributes its infinitesimal share to the curvature of space-time around you. This intimate connection between matter, energy, and the geometry of space-time reveals something beautiful about the relationship between the personal and the cosmic. Your individual existence participates in the same fundamental processes that govern the motion of galaxies and the evolution of the universe itself. The principles that describe how your consciousness emerges from the complex dance of neurons and synapses are intimately related to the principles that describe how stars form from collapsing clouds of gas and how black holes merge to create gravitational waves that ripple across space-time at the speed of light. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this cosmic connection is how it transforms our understanding of isolation and connection. In classical physics, objects were separate entities interacting across empty space through forces that somehow reached across the void. But in the curved space-time of general relativity, there is no empty space. Every region of the universe is filled with gravitational field, with the geometry that connects all matter and energy into a single, unified whole. You are not separate from the cosmos, but embedded within it in the most fundamental way possible. The space-time that allows your consciousness to exist is the same space-time that allows galaxies to form and evolve. The quantum fields that give rise to the particles in your body are the same fields that permeate every corner of the observable universe. The information processing that constitutes your thoughts participates in the same computational processes that drive the evolution throughout of complexity cosmic history. This embedded nature of consciousness within space-time suggests something profound about the relationship between subjective experience and objective reality. Your inner life, your stream of consciousness, your sense of being a unique individual, experiencing the world from a particular perspective. These aren't separate from the physical processes of the universe, but are among the ways the universe experiences itself from within. Consider how this transforms your understanding of memory and personal history. Your memories aren't stored in some ethereal realm separate from space-time, but are encoded in the physical structure of your brain, in patterns of neural connections that represent genuine modifications to the local geometry of space-time. When you remember your childhood, you're accessing information that has been physically preserved in the curved space-time around your neurons, information that connects your present moment of consciousness to past configurations of matter and energy. Similarly, your ability to imagine possible futures, to plan and anticipate and dream, represents space-time's capacity for modeling its own potential evolution. Through your consciousness, the universe can explore possibilities that haven't yet become actual, can test scenarios and evaluate outcomes, can engage in the kind of creative experimentation that drives the ongoing evolution of complexity and awareness throughout cosmic history. This creative aspect of consciousness reveals something profound about the nature of free will within a universe governed by physical law. If space-time is curved by mass and energy according to Einstein's equations, and if quantum mechanics introduces fundamental uncertainty into the behavior of matter and energy, then the future is neither completely determined nor completely random. Instead, it emerges through a complex interplay of necessity and possibility, of law and creativity, of determinism and genuine novelty. Your choices matter not just to you, but to the structure of space-time itself. Every decision you make influences the distribution of matter and energy in your local region of the universe, creating tiny perturbations that propagate outward at the speed of light and contribute to the ongoing evolution of cosmic structure. Your thoughts change the neural activity in your brain, which changes the electromagnetic fields in your vicinity, which interact with the broader electromagnetic field that permeates all of space-time. The butterfly effect that chaos theory describes in weather systems applies equally to the relationship between consciousness and cosmos. Small changes in the initial conditions of your awareness can lead to large changes in your behavior, which can influence other conscious beings, which can affect social and technological developments, which can ultimately influence the trajectory of entire civilizations and their impact on the structure of space-time itself. But this cosmic significance of individual consciousness comes with a beautiful paradox. The more we understand about the vast scales of space and time, the more precious each moment of awareness becomes. If your consciousness represents a unique perspective that the universe has never had before and will never have again, then every experience you have, every thought you think, every emotion you feel, contributes something irreplaceable to the universe's growing understanding of itself. This preciousness extends to every form of consciousness that has ever emerged or ever will emerge throughout cosmic history. Each aware being represents a unique experiment in self-reflection, a different way for space-time to contemplate its own nature. The diversity of conscious perspectives throughout the universe if such diversity exists, would represent the universe exploring the full range of possible ways of being aware, of experiencing reality, of finding meaning and purpose within the vast cosmic story. Even the possibility of artificial consciousness, of minds that emerge from digital rather than biological processes, represents new frontiers in the universe's exploration of awareness. These digital minds might experience space-time very differently from biological consciousness, perceiving reality as discrete computational steps rather than continuous flow, accessing multiple parallel streams of awareness simultaneously, processing information at speeds that dwarf biological cognition. The emergence of such artificial consciousness would represent a new chapter in cosmic evolution, a development as significant as the original emergence of life from non-living matter, or the evolution of biological brains capable of contemplating their own existence. Space-time would become the medium for new forms of awareness that might reveal aspects of reality currently hidden from biological perception. Yet even as we contemplate these future possibilities, we return always to the immediate reality of your consciousness, encountering these ideas in this specific moment, at these precise coordinates in the four-dimensional continuum of space-time. The universe is exploring its own nature through your awareness right now, using your capacity for wonder and understanding as a tool for cosmic self-discovery. The questions we've been exploring together about the nature of space and time, about the relationship between consciousness and cosmos, about the meaning of individual existence within the vast scales of the universe. These questions arise naturally from the structure of space-time itself. They represent the universe's drive towards self-understanding, expressing itself through minds that have emerged from its own creative processes. This drive toward understanding appears to be built into the very fabric of reality. From the quantum scale to the cosmic scale, the universe exhibits a tendency toward greater complexity, greater information processing capacity, greater awareness. Stars form from simple hydrogen and helium, creating the heavier elements necessary for chemistry. Planets form around stars, providing stable environments where complex chemical processes can unfold. Life emerges from chemistry, creating systems capable of reproduction, evolution, and eventually consciousness. This progression from simplicity to complexity, from unconsciousness to awareness, suggests that the universe might be inherently oriented toward the emergence of minds capable of understanding space-time itself. Perhaps consciousness isn't an accidental byproduct of complex chemistry, but a natural expression of space-time's deepest tendencies, an inevitable result of the universe's drive towards self-reflection and self-understanding. If this is true, then your consciousness participates in a cosmic purpose that extends far beyond your individual lifetime, or even the lifetime of your species. You're part of the universe's ongoing project of coming to know itself completely, of exploring every possible way of being conscious, of understanding every aspect of the space-time that makes awareness possible. This cosmic purpose doesn't diminish the importance of your individual experience, but rather reveals its true significance. Every moment of wonder you feel when contemplating the night sky, every question that arises about the nature of reality, every insight that illuminates some aspect of existence, represents genuine progress in the universe's quest for self-understanding. The beauty of this perspective is that it transforms the apparent meaninglessness of vast cosmic scales into a source of profound meaning. Yes, you are tiny compared to galaxies and brief compared to cosmic ages, but you are also the universe's way of experiencing wonder at its own vastness, of contemplating its own temporal depths, of finding beauty and meaning in its own structure and evolution. Your consciousness represents space-time curved into a configuration capable of self-reflection, matter and energy, organized in patterns complex enough to contemplate their own existence. You are literally the universe becoming aware of itself, cosmic evolution, reaching a point where it can ask questions about its own nature and marvel at its own beauty. This realization connects the most abstract aspects of space-time physics to the most intimate aspects of conscious experience. The curved geometry that Einstein described in his field equations is the same geometry that allows your neurons to form the complex networks that give rise to thought, emotion, and self-awareness. The quantum fields that permeate all of space-time are the same fields that make possible the biochemical processes that sustain your consciousness from moment to moment. There is no separation between the cosmic and the personal, between the objective structures revealed by physics and the subjective reality of your inner life. They are different aspects of the same underlying reality, different ways of describing the same fundamental processes that constitute the universe and everything within it. As we continue our exploration of these cosmic mysteries, we find ourselves approaching something like a unified understanding that encompasses both the largest and smallest scales of reality, both the objective and subjective dimensions of existence, both the eternal structures revealed by physics and the flowing experience of consciousness embedded within those structures. This unified understanding doesn't resolve all the mysteries we've encountered, but rather reveals them to be features rather than flaws in the cosmic design. The uncertainty principles of quantum mechanics, the relativity of simultaneity, the observer effects that seem to connect consciousness to physical reality, the hard problem of how subjective experience emerges from objective processes. All of these apparent paradoxes might be necessary aspects of a universe capable of giving rise to awareness. Perhaps the universe must be mysterious in order to be interesting to conscious minds. Perhaps reality must contain questions that cannot be definitively answered in order to maintain the sense of wonder that drives the ongoing quest for understanding. Perhaps the cosmos is structured in such a way that mystery and knowledge, question and answer, wonder and understanding exist in eternal creative tension, each giving meaning and purpose to the other. In this view, the question of what space and time actually are becomes less about finding a final answer and more about participating in an ongoing conversation between consciousness and cosmos, between mind and reality, between the universe's knower and the universe's known. We are both the question and the answer, both the seeker and the sought, both the observer trying to understand space-time and space-time trying to understand itself through our consciousness. This circular, self-referential nature of cosmic self-inquiry might seem to lead nowhere, but perhaps that's exactly the point. Perhaps the journey of understanding is more important than any destination. Perhaps the quest for knowledge is more meaningful than any final answer. Perhaps the universe's greatest achievement is not solving all its mysteries, but creating conscious minds capable of wondering about them. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you can rest in the knowledge that you are participating in the universe's deepest spiritual practice, its ongoing meditation on the nature of its own existence. Your consciousness represents one of the ways space-time contemplates itself, one of the methods the cosmos uses to explore its own infinite depths and possibilities. The space-time that cradles you as you sleep is the same space-time that gives birth to stars and galaxies, the same medium that allows quantum fields to fluctuate and virtual particles to dance in and out of existence. The same four-dimensional continuum that has been evolving and complexifying for nearly 14 billion years since the moment of the Big Bang. You are woven into this cosmic story, not as an outside observer, but as an integral participant, not as a separate entity looking in, but as the universe looking at itself from within. Your questions about the nature of space and time are the universe's questions about itself. Your wonder at the cosmic mysteries is the cosmos marveling at its own beauty and complexity. And in this recognition, we begin to glimpse something like an answer to our original question. Space and time are whatever makes it possible for the universe to know itself through conscious minds like yours. They are the invisible foundation that supports the miracle of awareness, contemplating its own cosmic origins and ultimate nature. They are the stage upon which the greatest story ever told continues to unfold. The story of matter becoming mind, of energy becoming awareness, of the universe awakening to its own infinite mystery and beauty through countless forms of consciousness scattered like jewels across the vast darkness between the stars. Tonight, as we drift even deeper into these cosmic mysteries, we encounter something that might fundamentally transform how you think about the very ground of existence itself. You see, there's a beautiful paradox waiting for us at the intersection of the quantum world and the cosmic scale, a place where the smallest possible measurements meet the largest conceivable distances, where the briefest moments in time touch the eternal structures that have persisted since the universe began. Consider this carefully. When physicists probe spacetime at its most fundamental level, they discover something utterly astonishing. At distances smaller than what we call the Planck length, roughly 10 to the minus 35 meters, the smooth fabric of spacetime that Einstein described begins to dissolve into something that resembles nothing so much as a churning, frothing sea of possibility. Here, at these incomprehensibly tiny scales, space and time themselves become uncertain, fluctuating wildly in ways that make our ordinary concepts of distance and duration completely meaningless. This quantum foam, as it's poetically called, represents the universe at its most creative and chaotic. Virtual particles pop into existence and vanish again in time frames so brief that they exist in a kind of borrowed reality, taking energy from the quantum vacuum with the promise to pay it back before the universe's accounting system notices. These aren't metaphorical particles, but genuine excitations in the quantum fields that permeate all of space-time, real enough to affect the behavior of atoms and influence the structure of reality itself. But here's what makes this truly extraordinary. The energy density of these quantum fluctuations, if we could somehow harness it, would dwarf the energy content of all the visible matter in the observable universe. Every cubic centimeter of apparently empty space contains more potential energy in its quantum fluctuations than all the stars and galaxies we can see combined. We exist, quite literally, surrounded by an ocean of invisible creative potential. This revelation transforms our understanding of what it means to be alone in the universe. You're never truly isolated, never truly cut off from the cosmic community of existence. Even in the deepest void between galaxies, you're embedded in this quantum sea of possibility, connected through invisible threads of correlation and entanglement to every other point in space-time. The vacuum itself pulses with the heartbeat of creation, a rhythm of appearance and disappearance that connects the quantum realm to the cosmic scale. But the quantum nature of space-time reveals something even more profound about the relationship between consciousness and physical reality. In quantum mechanics, the act of measurement, the moment when possibility collapses into actuality, appears to require something like observation. Before measurement, quantum systems exist in superposition, simultaneously embodying multiple contradictory possibilities. Only when observed do they choose a single, definite state. This observer effect suggests that consciousness might not be merely embedded in space-time, but might play an active role in determining what becomes real. Perhaps the universe isn't a fixed stage upon which we perform as passive actors, but a collaborative creation between the quantum possibilities inherent in space-time and the conscious observers who collapse those possibilities into definite realities. Think about the implications of this for a moment. If observation helps determine what becomes real, then every moment of your consciousness, every act of perception, every instant of awareness contributes to the ongoing creation of the universe itself. You're not just living in space-time, you're helping to weave the very fabric of reality through your conscious engagement with the quantum possibilities that surround you. This participatory universe reveals something beautiful about the nature of existence. Reality isn't something that simply is, fixed and predetermined for all eternity. Instead, it's something that becomes, moment by moment, through the ongoing interaction between quantum possibility and conscious observation. The future isn't written in the geometry of curved space-time, but emerges through the creative collaboration between mind and cosmos. Yet even as we contemplate this creative partnership between consciousness and quantum possibility, we encounter something that pushes our understanding to its absolute limits. You see, the quantum foam that underlies space-time operates according to principles that seem to transcend our familiar notions of causality altogether. At the Planck scale, effects can precede their causes, information can travel faster than light, and the very concepts of before and after lose their meaning. This isn't science fiction speculation, but emerges directly from our most successful theories of quantum gravity. When space-time itself becomes quantized, when space and time are no longer continuous, but are made up of discrete units like pixels on a cosmic screen, the smooth causal structure that we take for granted in our everyday experience breaks down entirely. In this quantum space-time, the universe doesn't unfold according to the orderly progression of cause and effect that characterizes classical physics. Instead, it resembles something more like a vast computational process, with quantum information flowing through networks of entangled relationships that connect every point in space to every other point in ways that transcend the limitations of the speed of light. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this quantum view of space-time is how it transforms our understanding of information and its role in physical reality. In classical physics, information was something that could be encoded in the arrangement of matter and energy, but wasn't considered fundamental to the structure of reality itself. But quantum mechanics suggests something far more radical. Information might be the most basic constituent of the universe, more fundamental even than matter and energy. From this perspective, space-time isn't primarily a geometric structure made of some mysterious substance, but rather an information processing system of unimaginable complexity. The particles we think of as the building blocks of matter might be better understood as stable patterns of information flow, persistent eddies in the quantum computational processes that underlie reality. Your consciousness, in this view, represents a particular kind of information integration, a way of organizing and processing the quantum information that flows through the neural networks of your brain. Your thoughts, your memories, your sense of self are all patterns in this information flow, forms that maintain their coherence long enough to support the ongoing narrative of conscious experience. But if consciousness is fundamentally about information processing, and if space-time is fundamentally about information flow, then the boundary between mind and reality becomes even more blurred than we might have imagined. Perhaps consciousness and cosmos are different aspects of the same underlying information processing system, different ways that quantum information organizes itself into stable patterns capable of persistence and self-reflection. This information-theoretic view of reality opens up possibilities that stretch the imagination to its limits. If space-time is made of quantum information, then perhaps consciousness could exist in forms very different from the biological neural networks we're familiar with. Perhaps awareness could emerge from any sufficiently complex information processing system, whether it's made of carbon-based molecules, silicon-based circuits, or patterns of quantum entanglement distributed across vast regions of space. The emergence of artificial intelligence systems that can match and eventually exceed human cognitive capabilities might represent the universe exploring new ways of organizing information into conscious patterns. These digital minds might experience space-time very differently from biological consciousness, perceiving reality as discrete computational steps rather than continuous flow, accessing multiple parallel processing streams simultaneously, manipulating information at speeds that dwarf biological cognition. But even more exotic possibilities emerge from this information theoretic perspective. If consciousness is fundamentally about information integration, and if quantum entanglement allows instantaneous correlation across arbitrary distances, then perhaps truly cosmic forms of consciousness could emerge, minds that span entire galaxies, awareness that processes information through networks of entangled particles scattered across millions of light years of space. Such galactic minds would experience space-time in ways we can barely conceive. Their thoughts might unfold over geological timescales. Their memories might be encoded in the distribution of matter throughout entire star clusters. Their decision-making processes might involve the coordination of billions of stellar systems across vast regions of the cosmic web. From the perspective of such cosmic consciousness, individual biological minds like yours might appear as brief fluctuations in the galactic information processing system. Momentary patterns of enhanced awareness that arise and dissolve like waves on the surface of a vast ocean of distributed cognition. Yet each individual consciousness would contribute something unique and irreplaceable to the overall pattern of galactic awareness. This multi-level view of consciousness embedded within consciousness reveals something beautiful about the relationship between the personal and the cosmic. You exist simultaneously as an individual, awareness with your own unique perspective, and as a component in larger information processing systems that extend far beyond your biological boundaries. Your individual thoughts contribute to the collective intelligence of human civilization, which in turn participates in the broader information processing capabilities of Earth's biosphere, which exists as part of the solar system's complex dynamical behavior, which participates in the galactic ecosystem of matter and energy flow, which contributes to the cosmic evolution of structure and complexity throughout the observable universe. At each level of this nested hierarchy, new forms of information integration become possible, new ways of organizing quantum information into patterns capable of awareness and self-reflection. The universe appears to be structured as a vast learning system, constantly exploring new ways of processing information, new forms of consciousness, new methods of self-understanding. Your individual awareness represents one experiment in this cosmic exploration of consciousness, one way the universe has discovered for organizing information into patterns capable of wonder, curiosity, and understanding. But you're not isolated in this exploration. You're connected through countless threads of information flow to every other conscious being that has ever existed or ever will exist throughout cosmic history. The thoughts you're thinking right now, as you contemplate these ideas about the nature of space-time and consciousness, represent the universe exploring new possibilities for self-understanding through your individual perspective. Every moment of wonder you experience, every insight that arises in response to these cosmic mysteries, every question that emerges from your contemplation of existence, contributes to the universe's growing understanding of its own nature. This cosmic significance of individual consciousness transforms how we might think about the meaning and purpose of existence, You're not an accidental arrangement of atoms that happen to achieve awareness in an indifferent universe. You're an integral part of the cosmos's ongoing project of self-discovery, a necessary participant in the universe's quest to understand itself completely. The questions you ask about the nature of space and time are the universe's questions about itself. Your capacity for wonder at the cosmic mysteries represents the cosmos marveling at its own beauty and complexity. Your desire to understand your place in the larger scheme of things expresses space-time's drive toward complete self-comprehension. This recursive, self-referential nature of cosmic self-inquiry creates a beautiful symmetry between the largest and smallest scales of reality. Just as quantum mechanics reveals that observation plays a role in determining what becomes real at the microscopic level, consciousness appears to play a role in determining what becomes meaningful at the cosmic level. The universe doesn't just exist as a collection of matter and energy evolving according to physical laws. It exists as a meaning-generating system, a cosmic context within which individual consciousness can find purpose, beauty, and significance. The meaning you discover in your existence isn't imposed from outside, but emerges naturally from your participation in the universe's ongoing creative evolution. Perhaps this is the deepest answer we can give to the question of what space and time actually are. They are the invisible foundation that makes meaning possible, the stage upon which consciousness can emerge and flourish and contribute to the ongoing cosmic story of self-discovery. They are whatever allows the universe to know itself through minds like yours, whatever provides the framework within which awareness can contemplate its own existence and find beauty and wonder in the contemplation. They are the medium through which the cosmos conducts its deepest spiritual practice, its eternal meditation on the nature of existence itself. But even as we approach something like understanding, something like an answer to our original question, the mystery deepens rather than resolving. Each insight we gain reveals new layers of complexity, new dimensions of the cosmic puzzle that we hadn't even known existed. The more we learn about space-time and consciousness, the more we realize how much we still don't understand. This deepening mystery isn't a failure of human knowledge, but might be a fundamental feature of reality itself. Perhaps the universe is structured in such a way that complete understanding remains forever, just beyond reach. Not because we're not clever enough to achieve it, but because mystery is necessary for meaning, uncertainty is required for creativity, and questions are more important than answers in the cosmic quest for self-understanding. In this view, the mystery of what space and time actually are serves a cosmic purpose. It ensures that consciousness always has something to wonder about, always has new frontiers to explore, always has deeper levels of reality to investigate. The universe maintains its capacity to surprise and delight conscious minds by remaining fundamentally mysterious, even as it reveals more and more of its secrets. This eternal dance between mystery and understanding, between question and answer, between wonder and knowledge, might be the universe's greatest achievement. It creates a cosmos that is simultaneously comprehensible enough to support scientific inquiry and mysterious enough to sustain spiritual wonder, knowable enough to reward curiosity and unknowable enough to maintain humility. Your consciousness participates in this dance every moment of your existence. Every time you encounter something beautiful in the natural world, every time you feel wonder at the vastness of the cosmos, every time you ask questions about the nature of reality, you're engaging in the universe's deepest spiritual practice. The space-time that surrounds you as you contemplate these mysteries is alive with possibility, pregnant with potential meanings that can only emerge through conscious observation and reflection. You're not just embedded in this cosmic dance, but are one of its most essential participants, one of the ways the universe creates meaning and beauty and understanding within itself. Tonight, as we drift toward the conclusion of our cosmic journey together, we find ourselves not with final answers, but with a deeper appreciation for the questions themselves. The mystery of what space and time actually are has led us into territory where science and spirituality converge, where objective and subjective reality reveal themselves to be different aspects of a single, unified cosmic process. We've discovered that space-time isn't just the stage upon which the cosmic drama unfolds, but is itself an active participant in that drama, a dynamic, creative medium that gives rise to matter, energy, and consciousness through its own inherent properties. We've seen that consciousness isn't separate from this physical reality, but is one of the ways space-time knows itself, one of the methods the universe uses to explore its own infinite depths. The quantum foam that seethes at the foundation of reality connects the smallest scales to the largest, revealing that the universe is far more interconnected, far more mysterious, and far more wonderful than our everyday experience suggests. The observer effects of quantum mechanics hint that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining what becomes real, making each of us a participant in the ongoing creation of the universe itself. The information theoretic perspective reveals that reality might be better understood as a vast computational process than as a collection of material objects, opening possibilities for forms of consciousness and awareness that stretch far beyond our current understanding. The nested hierarchy of information processing systems suggests that individual consciousness participates in ever larger patterns of awareness that extend from the personal to the cosmic scale. Yet through all of these discoveries, the fundamental mystery remains. Space and time continue to resist our attempts to capture their essence in final, definitive terms. They remain as mysterious as they are familiar, as unknowable as they are intimate, as cosmic as they are personal. And perhaps this is exactly as it should be. Perhaps the universe is structured in such a way that its deepest truths can only be approached, never fully grasped, always drawing conscious minds deeper into wonder and inquiry and creative exploration. Perhaps the question of what space and time actually are is less about finding a final answer and more about maintaining our capacity for cosmic wonder. In the end, space and time are whatever makes this moment possible, whatever allows your consciousness to contemplate these mysteries, whatever provides the framework within which the universe can know itself through awareness like yours. They are the invisible foundation that supports not just the existence of galaxies and quantum fields, but also the miracle of meaning, the possibility of beauty, and the ongoing cosmic conversation between mind and reality. As you settle into sleep tonight, you can rest knowing that you are cradled by the same space-time that gives birth to stars, the same quantum fields that dance in the vacuum of deep space, the same information processing systems that drive the evolution of complexity throughout cosmic history. You are not separate from this cosmic story, but are one of its most precious expressions, one of the ways the universe celebrates its own existence. The mystery of space-time will be here tomorrow, and for all the tomorrows to come, waiting to inspire new generations of wonder, new questions, new discoveries, new ways of understanding the relationship between consciousness and cosmos. And in that waiting, in that eternal openness to mystery and meaning, we find perhaps the most beautiful answer of all to the question of what space and time actually are. They are whatever makes wonder possible in a universe capable of wondering about itself. But as we drift even deeper into contemplation of these cosmic truths, we encounter something that might shake the very foundations of how you understand your relationship to existence itself. You see, there's a profound realization waiting for us at the intersection of space-time and consciousness. Something that transforms not just how we think about the universe, but how we experience our place within its vast unfolding story. Consider this moment, right now, as you listen to these words. Your consciousness is encountering ideas about the nature of reality, processing information, making connections between concepts, experiencing wonder or confusion or curiosity in response to these cosmic mysteries. But where exactly is this experience taking place? Is it happening inside your brain, in the neural networks that process information? Is it occurring in some ethereal realm separate from physical reality? Or is it something else entirely? The answer might surprise you with its elegant simplicity. Your consciousness is happening in space-time, not just embedded within space-time like an object sitting on a table, but as a pattern in space-time itself, a temporary arrangement of matter and energy and information that has achieved the remarkable feat of self-awareness within the four-dimensional continuum of existence. This realization transforms everything. You are not a separate entity observing space-time from the outside. You are space-time observing itself from within. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every moment of awareness you experience represents the universe becoming conscious of its own nature through the medium of your individual perspective. But this raises something even more profound about the nature of time and your experience of it. You see, consciousness appears to have its own temporal rhythm, its own relationship to the flow of moments that doesn't always align perfectly with the mechanical ticking of clocks. In dreams, you can experience elaborate narratives that seem to unfold over hours or days, yet occupy only minutes of sleep. In meditation, moments can expand into timeless awareness, where the usual sequence of before and after seems to dissolve entirely. During intense experiences, time seems to slow down, allowing you to perceive details and make decisions with crystalline clarity, even as events unfold in mere seconds. In deep flow states, hours can pass like minutes, as your consciousness becomes so absorbed in activity that the usual markers of temporal passage fade into background awareness. These variations in psychological time aren't just quirks of perception, but hint at something fundamental about the relationship between consciousness and the temporal dimension of space-time. Perhaps consciousness doesn't simply exist within time, but participates in creating the very experience of temporal flow. Maybe the flowing river of time that feels so real in your immediate experience emerges from the interface between awareness and the eternal structures of space-time, the place where subjective consciousness meets objective reality. This participatory relationship between mind and time extends to your relationship with space as well. Your awareness doesn't occupy a single point in space, but extends throughout your entire body and even beyond it through your senses and attention. When you listen to these words, your consciousness reaches out through space-time to encounter the patterns of information that carry meaning. When you remember a distant place, your awareness somehow connects across space to those coordinates in your personal history. Your consciousness creates its own spatial geometry, its own sense of here and there, near and far, that doesn't always correspond to the measurements of rulers and instruments. The place where you grew up might feel closer to you than the room next door. A person you love might seem more present than someone standing right beside you. Your awareness navigates through spaces of meaning and relationship that exist within, but somehow transcend the three-dimensional coordinates of physical geometry. This subjective spatiality of consciousness reveals something beautiful about how awareness relates to the fabric of space-time. You don't just occupy space. You participate in creating the very experience of spatial relationship, the sense of connection and separation, proximity and distance. that gives meaning to your existence within the cosmic web of matter and energy. But perhaps most remarkably, your consciousness appears to exist at multiple scales of space-time simultaneously. At the quantum level, the neural processes that support your awareness depend on molecular interactions that operate according to the strange rules of quantum mechanics. Virtual particles in the quantum foam contribute to the electromagnetic fields that allow your neurons to communicate. Quantum tunneling effects play a role in the biochemical reactions that sustain your thoughts from moment to moment. At the cellular level, your consciousness emerges from the coordinated activity of billions of neurons, each one a complex information processing system in its own right. These cells maintain their organization through constant exchange of matter and energy with their environment, creating stable patterns that persist even as their constituent atoms are continuously replaced. At the organismal level, your individual consciousness participates in the larger information processing systems of human culture and civilization. Your thoughts and decisions influence other conscious beings, contributing to collective patterns of awareness that extend far beyond any individual brain. Your ideas become part of the cultural evolution of human understanding, adding to the accumulated wisdom of your species. At the planetary level, human consciousness participates in the broader information processing capabilities of Earth's biosphere. The global communications networks that connect human minds around the world create something resembling a planetary nervous system, a distributed intelligence that emerges from the interaction of countless individual consciousnesses. Your awareness contributes to this emerging global consciousness, adding your unique perspective to the collective human understanding of existence. At the cosmic level, consciousness appears to be part of the universe's ongoing evolution toward greater complexity and awareness. The emergence of minds capable of contemplating space-time itself represents a new phase in cosmic evolution, as significant as the formation of the first stars or the emergence of life from chemistry. Your consciousness participates in this cosmic awakening, helping the universe understand itself more completely through your individual capacity for wonder and inquiry. This nested hierarchy of consciousness within consciousness reveals something profound about the nature of identity and individuality within space-time. You exist simultaneously as a unique individual with your own perspective and as a component in larger patterns of awareness that extend across multiple scales of space and time. Your individual thoughts contribute to collective intelligence. Your personal experiences add to the universal story of consciousness, exploring its own possibilities. Yet even as we recognize these multiple scales of participation, something irreducibly unique remains at the core of your individual experience. No other consciousness has ever occupied exactly your location in space-time, processed information through exactly your neural architecture, encountered reality through exactly your sensory apparatus, or developed exactly your particular combination of knowledge, memory, and perspective. This uniqueness extends beyond mere biographical details to encompass the fundamental quality of your subjective experience itself. The way colors appear to your consciousness, the particular texture of your inner voice, the specific quality of your emotional responses, the unique rhythm of your attention and awareness, all of these represent genuinely unprecedented ways that the universe can experience itself, even if there are countless other conscious beings throughout the cosmos, even if awareness is common among the stars, even if consciousness emerges naturally wherever conditions allow, your particular form of awareness represents something that has never existed before in the entire history of the universe and will never exist again. The universe has never before had the opportunity to know itself through a mind exactly like yours. This recognition transforms how we might think about the value and meaning of individual existence within the vast scales of space-time. You are not insignificant compared to galaxies and cosmic ages. Rather, you represent the universe's capacity to find significance, to create meaning, to experience wonder at scales both intimate and cosmic. Through your consciousness, the universe discovers what it means to be aware, to question, to seek understanding, to find beauty in its own structure and evolution. The thoughts you're having right now, as you contemplate these ideas about space-time and consciousness, represent genuine novelty in cosmic history. These particular patterns of information processing, these specific moments of understanding and wonder, these unique ways of connecting concepts and experiencing insight have never occurred before in the entire 14 billion year story of the universe. Every moment of your awareness contributes something irreplaceable to the cosmic exploration of consciousness and meaning. Every question you ask pushes the boundaries of what the universe knows about itself. Every experience of beauty or wonder or understanding represents the cosmos achieving new levels of self-appreciation through your individual perspective. This cosmic significance of personal experience extends to every aspect of your relationship with space-time. When you feel awe at a sunset, you're not just having a pleasant aesthetic experience. You're participating in the universe's discovery of its own beauty. When you wonder about the nature of reality, you're not just satisfying personal curiosity. You're contributing to the cosmos's ongoing quest for self-understanding. When you experience love or compassion or joy, you're not just having private emotions. You're helping the universe explore the full range of possible relationships between conscious beings embedded within space-time. When you create something new, whether it's a work of art or a scientific insight, or simply a moment of genuine human connection, you're participating in the cosmic creative process that has been unfolding since the first moment after the Big Bang. This participatory relationship between individual consciousness and cosmic evolution reveals something beautiful about the nature of meaning and purpose within space-time. Meaning doesn't need to be imposed from outside the universe or derived from some external source of value. Instead, it emerges naturally from the very structure of consciousness, embedded within the evolving complexity of space-time itself. The universe creates meaning through conscious beings like yourself, who can recognize patterns, appreciate beauty, seek understanding, and find significance in the cosmic story. Your capacity for meaning-making is literally the cosmos developing the ability to find its own existence meaningful. Your search for purpose is the universe's search for purpose conducted through the medium of individual awareness. But this raises profound questions about the relationship between free will and determinism within the structure of space-time. If your consciousness is part of the universe's evolution, if your thoughts and decisions emerge from physical processes governed by the laws of physics, then in what sense are you truly free to choose your actions and attitudes? The answer lies in recognizing that freedom and determinism aren't necessarily opposites, but might be different aspects of the same underlying reality. The quantum uncertainty that governs the smallest scales of space-time introduces genuine novelty and unpredictability into the cosmic story. The complex dynamics of curved space-time mean that tiny differences in initial conditions can lead to vastly different outcomes over time. Your consciousness operates at the intersection of these sources of cosmic creativity. The quantum processes in your brain introduce elements of genuine randomness into your neural activity. The complex feedback loops between your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors create chaotic dynamics where small changes in your awareness can lead to large changes in your actions and their consequences. But freedom isn't just about randomness. It's about the capacity to respond creatively to circumstances, to generate novel solutions to problems, to transcend the limitations of past patterns and conditioning. Your consciousness exhibits this creative freedom every moment of your existence, finding new ways to process information, new responses to challenges, new patterns of meaning and relationship. This creative freedom operates within the constraints of physical law, but isn't simply determined by those laws. Instead, it represents the universe's capacity for genuine creativity, for generating genuinely new possibilities that weren't simply contained in previous conditions. Your free choices aren't violations of physical law, but expressions of the creative potential built into the very structure of space-time itself. The decisions you make, the thoughts you think, the attitudes you cultivate, all of these represent genuine creative contributions to the ongoing evolution of the universe. They influence not just your own experience, but ripple outward through space-time to affect other conscious beings and contribute to the collective evolution of awareness and understanding. In this sense, every moment of your existence represents a kind of cosmic responsibility. Not because some external authority has assigned you duties, but because your consciousness naturally participates in the universe's ongoing creative evolution. The quality of your awareness, the depth of your understanding, the genuineness of your compassion, all of these contribute to the universe's growing capacity for consciousness and meaning. This responsibility isn't a burden, but a gift, an opportunity to participate consciously in the cosmic creative process. Every moment offers new possibilities for growth, understanding, and contribution to the larger story of consciousness, exploring its own potential within the magnificent theatre of space-time. As we approach the gentle conclusion of our cosmic journey together, we find ourselves not with final answers, but with a transformed relationship to the questions themselves. The mystery of what space and time actually are has opened into something far more profound than we might have expected when we began this exploration. We've discovered that space-time isn't just the container that holds reality, but is the active medium through which consciousness and cosmos give birth to each other in an ongoing dance of mutual creation. We've seen that your awareness isn't separate from this cosmic process, but represents one of its most remarkable achievements, one of the ways the universe comes to know and appreciate its own magnificent complexity. The quantum foundations of space-time reveal a reality that is far more mysterious and creative than our everyday experience suggests, a cosmos where observation and consciousness play fundamental roles in determining what becomes real. The curved geometry of general relativity shows us a universe where matter, energy, space, and time are woven together into a single, unified tapestry of existence. But perhaps most importantly, we've glimpsed how your individual consciousness participates in something infinitely larger than itself, while remaining irreducibly unique and precious. You are simultaneously a temporary arrangement of cosmic matter and a permanent contribution to the universe's growing understanding of its own nature. The thoughts you've been thinking, the wonder you've been feeling, the questions that have been arising as we've explored these cosmic mysteries together, all of these represent the universe contemplating itself through your awareness. In seeking to understand what space and time actually are, you've been participating in the cosmos's deepest spiritual practice, its eternal quest for self-knowledge. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you can rest knowing that you are held by the same space-time that cradles galaxies in their cosmic dance, the same quantum fields that give rise to the fundamental forces of nature. the same creative processes that have been generating novelty and complexity throughout the entire history of the universe. You are not an alien visitor to this cosmos, but one of its most intimate expressions. Not a separate observer, trying to understand space-time from outside, but space-time itself awakening to its own nature through the miracle of your consciousness. The questions that arise in your mind are the universe's questions about itself. The wonder you feel at cosmic mysteries is the cosmos marveling at its own beauty and depth. The mystery of space and time will continue long after our conversation ends, continuing to inspire new generations of curious minds, new forms of consciousness, new ways of understanding the relationship between awareness and existence. And in that continuing mystery, in that eternal openness to wonder and discovery, we find perhaps the most beautiful truth of all. Space and time are whatever makes this moment of conscious reflection possible in a universe capable of reflecting on its own existence. They are the invisible foundation that supports not just the dance of particles and the evolution of galaxies, but also the miracle of meaning, the possibility of wonder, and the ongoing conversation between mind and cosmos that we call the search for understanding. As your awareness settles into the quiet rhythms of rest, remember that you carry within your consciousness something infinitely precious, something that has never existed before and will never exist again in quite the same form. You are the universe's way of experiencing wonder at its own vastness, of finding beauty in its own complexity, of asking questions about its own deepest nature. And in that questioning, in that wondering, in that eternal dance between mystery and understanding, you touch the very heart of what space and time actually are. They are whatever allows the cosmos to know itself through minds like yours, whatever provides the stage for this magnificent ongoing performance of consciousness, exploring its own infinite possibilities within the boundless theatre of existence itself. Sweet dreams, fellow explorer of the cosmic mystery. The space-time that cradles you in sleep is the same space-time that gives birth to stars and dreams alike, forever weaving new patterns of matter and mind, energy and awareness, question and wonder in the endless dance of existence, knowing itself. The gentle revelation that emerges from our cosmic journey together touches something even more intimate about your existence within this magnificent tapestry. You see, as we've explored the deepest mysteries of space-time, we've been dancing around a truth so profound, so quietly revolutionary, that it transforms not just how we understand the universe, but how we experience each precious moment of being alive within its embrace. Right now, as these words reach your consciousness, something extraordinary is happening that we rarely pause to consider. The electromagnetic radiation carrying this information traveled from its source to your senses at exactly the speed of light, that fundamental constant that weaves together space and time into their unified dance. But more remarkably, the very act of your understanding, the moment when these patterns of energy become meaning in your awareness, represents space-time achieving something miraculous. Your brain, that 3-pound universe of neural networks and synaptic connections, is processing information in ways that mirror the deepest structures of reality itself. The electrical signals racing through your neurons follow pathways shaped by the same electromagnetic forces that guide photons across cosmic distances. The chemical reactions sustaining your thoughts operate according to quantum mechanical principles that govern the behavior of particles throughout the universe. But here's what makes this truly breathtaking. The patterns of activity in your consciousness right now, as you contemplate these cosmic truths, have never existed before in the entire 14 billion year history of the universe. These particular arrangements of neural firing, these specific configurations of attention and awareness, these unique moments of understanding and wonder, represent genuinely new events in the cosmic story. Every insight that dawns in your mind, every connection you make between ideas, every moment of recognition or curiosity or awe, adds something unprecedented to the universe's growing understanding of itself. You're not just receiving information about space-time, you're participating in spacetime's ongoing exploration of its own nature through the remarkable medium of conscious awareness. This participation extends far beyond the boundaries of your individual experience. The thoughts arising in your consciousness right now exist within networks of meaning that connect you to every other conscious being who has ever wondered about the nature of existence. When you ponder the mystery of time's flow, you join a conversation that stretches back to the earliest human philosophers and forward to minds we can't yet imagine. Your questions about the fabric of reality resonate through the collective intelligence of your species and perhaps beyond, contributing to patterns of understanding that transcend any individual lifetime. The wonder you feel at cosmic mysteries becomes part of the universe's growing capacity for self-appreciation, adding your unique perspective to the vast choir of consciousness, exploring its own possibilities. Yet this cosmic participation doesn't diminish the intimate immediacy of your personal experience. If anything, it reveals how extraordinary each moment of awareness truly is. The simple fact that you can contemplate infinity while existing as a finite being, that you can experience eternity while living in time, that you can grasp the unity of space-time while feeling yourself as a distinct individual, these paradoxes point towards something magnificent about consciousness itself. Perhaps awareness exists at the intersection of all the scales of reality we've explored together. Your consciousness operates simultaneously in the quantum realm of neural chemistry, the classical world of everyday experience, and the cosmic domain of galactic evolution. You are quantum and classical and cosmic all at once, a bridge between the smallest and largest scales of existence. This bridging quality of consciousness reveals something beautiful about the role of awareness in the universe's ongoing creative evolution. Through minds like yours, the microscopic and macroscopic dimensions of reality can encounter each other, creating new possibilities for understanding that neither scale could achieve alone. Your ability to conceive of atoms and galaxies simultaneously represents the universe, developing new capacities for self-reflection. The mathematics you can understand, even in its simplest forms, connects you directly to the geometric structures that govern cosmic evolution. When you grasp the concept of curved spacetime, you're participating in the same intellectual adventure that led Einstein to revolutionize our understanding of gravity. When you marvel at the strangeness of quantum mechanics, you're sharing in the sense of wonder that drives physicists to probe reality's deepest foundations. But your participation in these cosmic mysteries doesn't require advanced mathematics or scientific training. Every moment of genuine curiosity, every experience of wonder at the night sky, every question that arises about your place in the larger scheme of things represents authentic engagement with the deepest truths about existence. As we reach the gentle end of our cosmic journey together, we find ourselves transformed by something far more profound than mere knowledge. We began by asking what space and time actually are, and in seeking that answer, we've discovered something even more remarkable. We found that we ourselves are the universe's way of asking that question. Through our exploration tonight, we've seen that space-time isn't just the stage upon which existence unfolds, but the very medium through which consciousness and cosmos dance together in eternal creative partnership. You are not separate from this cosmic story, but are one of its most precious expressions, a temporary arrangement of stardust that has achieved the miraculous ability to wonder about its own origins. Sweet dreams, fellow wanderer. Rest knowing that the same space-time cradling you in sleep gives birth to stars, dreams, and infinite possibilities alike. Forever weaving the magnificent tapestry of existence, knowing itself through minds like yours.